My name is Mohammed Hassan. I'm Ethiopian. I live in Belgium. I'm a father of 4 children, and I'm also a grandfather of 3 girls. I lived in Belgium almost for 50 years. I was a member of the Labour Party of Belgium. I was also one of the editor of our theoretical journal called Etudes Marxistes. And I visited Eritrea frequently. I consider that Eritrea is a frontline state. It is my country. I am not only an Ethiopian, I believe that I am a citizen of Horn of Africa. At the same time, an European and a Belgian. I was asked by the organizers of this conference to give or to shed light on the concept of federalism. And a lot of people think that for multinational countries, which is not democratic by its essence, it is connected to, in fact, a neo-colonial state, you could say. And they think that it is the contradiction among the people. It is different ones and a very difficult language crisis, nationalities problem, how to build a new nation and the new basis and so on. So the external hegemonist force, they have solution for that. And one of the solution is, which they export to this type of countries, by drafting a constitution called federalism.
Containing everyone who doesn't bow to this ideology has been there for the last 30 years. You will be punished if you are not in line with their way of thinking. It's either sanctions, it's either demonizing this or that guy and using all sorts of tools, including the World Bank, IMF, and other tools they use to pressure everybody to bow to this ideology. And people are fed up of this behavior, this culture of domination, hegemony. Everybody is fed up of it. The people in Africa, above any other continent, would like to see this process going forward and changing their quality of life, not for this generation, but for the coming generation. So they would use every tool, like they are using now Ukraine, to give the impression that this is a fight between Russia and Ukraine. I said, this has nothing to do with Ukraine and Russia. This is their declared war that has been there for the last 30 years, and it's not only Russia. It's for everybody else, everywhere in Asia, in Latin America, Europe, the Americas. People are fed up of this thing, and when they try to pressure someone who doesn't bow to this ideology, it only emphasizes the fact that they are fed up. They have failed. Their mission have failed. Putting NATO in an intensive care and Europe in an intensive care is not going to work anymore, even with all the pressure and all the tools that they have available at their disposal.
And my lecture is, federalism is not an aspirin which you can give it to every society. Second, federalism is a scientific political logic. It has nothing to do with languages. Second, federalism is a process of centralization. And I tried to explain the 4 federal states. 3 of them one is United States. It has nothing to do with language. As I have told you, that federalism is a process of centralization, bringing the different separate parts into one unity with a new structure, and to create a centralized state gradually. And it has nothing to do with language. The United States, all of them speak English languages. The United States federal state, it came because the states, they were an independent entities in the past, and to merge all of them into one big nation. So it's a process of centralization. The same Germany, feudal Germany, had a lot of small feudal states, probably even 800 of them. Finally, the debate among the Germans to create a modern state, the biggest one is Borussia. Once the election came and Bismarck was appointed, Germans, it took them 80 years a debate in Frankfurt how to create a new German nation. At the same time, German industry was developing in a fastest rate. Transportation was increasing. German railways built, which unified everybody, and the language was spoken everywhere is in German language. Finally, they came to the understanding that they have to create a federal German state, and it is not based on different languages. The language all of them spoke was German. They were different entities. They were divided for a very long time with different feudal states, and they wanted to create a modern nation and a new basis. So to show that it is federalism have nothing to do with language. The third country I analyzed is Switzerland. People get confused when they see the Swiss. Swiss is a very rich nation, a very small nation, which is in fact a mountainous country. And how come that the Swiss federalism came? Because the cantons in Switzerland, there is about 400 cantons. And these 400 cantons, they came from a historical point of view. One is because of the Romans. They wanted to go to what now is France and Spain. The army of the Roman Empire was crossing through Switzerland. At that moment, there was no airplanes, there was no highways, there was no train. And these Roman soldiers also, they are not modern army because they have no even salaries. So when they cross through, the easiest way to cross and to reach to France and Spain, they have to cross the mountain of Switzerland. When they come, these hordes of army of the Romans, they destroy and loot every villages they pass. So finally, the Swiss, they have to defend themselves, and they organize themselves in cantons. And some cantons speak one language, some speak two languages, some speak three languages. In fact, the cantons is like a self-defense mechanism which was built. Finally, when Switzerland was going to the second stage, which means to create a modern nation state and a modern economic of capitalism, that 400 cantons, each of the cantons had their own taxes. Imagine I was an industrialist in France, and I'm producing shoes, and I wanted to send these shoes to be sold in Italy. And if my product is passing through Switzerland, I have to pay 400 tax. Therefore, my product will be very expensive. So most of the business people and industrialists avoided Switzerland because there is 400 type of taxes, and this brought a very serious crisis for the Swiss because there was no business. They have a lot of multiplied taxes. To solve that, they have to uniformize their tax. And that uniformization of the tax, they developed a federal. Federalism is a process of centralization and creating also one taxing system in one concentrated area, which is called the Swiss state. From that point of view, that Switzerland became a federal state and a very democratic state. You could see now when you go to the Swiss parliament, while is the French speakers, they are only 20% of the population, but the whole debate of the parliament is in French. There was no problem, even though the majority of the population of the Swiss are German speakers. And then there is a minority Italians and old Romans. None of them have a problem of language. And there was no contradiction. And that is why Switzerland could be, and it became a rich nation, at the same time is the most democratic nation when it was established. Therefore, federalism have nothing to do with language. That is the first principle of federalism. Second important thing is uniformization of taxation. And that way is the Swiss state was established. But when you apply and you copy, as if federalism is like a medicine for every multinational, multilingual state. You just import it from outside without understanding the internal historical mechanism. Then you apply it on the basis of language. You don't create a nation state, you create an apartheid state. You put a division among the population on the basis of languages. You divide the nation on the basis of language. And that is one of the countries which is an industrialized country, a very small dependent imperialist country is Belgium. I was trying to explain Belgium. Belgium, when I came to study in Belgium, it had one central government. It had only 10 provinces. It had one parliament. But when they started wrongly the federal system, today Belgium have 7 governments. It have 550 parliamentarians. It have 55 ministers, and so on and so on. The television was divided, the schooling system is divided, and so on. And they put borders, linguistic border among the citizens. This you create and you defeat the concept of citizenship because you put a division and you curtail the population. And that is not federalism, that is tribalism, that is Bantustan system you create. It's have nothing to do with modern situation. Then I have applied, is Ethiopia, when you read the constitution of Ethiopia, when you see the flag of Ethiopia, when you go to the Ethiopian embassy and the album, it is Ethiopia, Federal State of Ethiopia, and so on, it is written, is Ethiopia is a federal state in modern sense? No. Ethiopia is today a Bantustan system, a division on the basis of languages, and you separate all the use of the country, the division among the population, you put a language border, and by the name, correcting history. TPLF, a minority organization who have ruled the country for 27 years, finally melted like ice cream. They cannot even unify Tigray. Now it is by itself, Tigray is divided. So a wrong medicine to a wrong disease, it will only kill you. That is what I wanted to explain. You cannot, it's not aspirin, federalism for every problem. I have spoke about an African country which properly applied and created a nation state, and that is the federal state of Tanzania. 2 entities who are totally different. One is an island, it's called Zanzibar. It had been a colony of the British. Then the Zanzibari Revolution in 1964 came. Another one is Tanganyika, which is German, the biggest one, a German colony. Then Germans were defeated, and then it was given for the British for a while, and Tanzania or Tanganyika got independent. In Tanganyika, there is 80 languages. Both entities, Zanzibar and Tanganyika, both of them speak Swahili, and Swahili became the national unity language. In Tanganyika, there is 80 African languages. Today, when you go to Tanzania and you ask any child in the street, any person in the street, or any woman in the street, she will tell you, I'm Tanzanian. Because there is no linguistic division, because the language which unifies the Tanzanians and Tanzanian nation is Swahili, which is common to the Zanzibaris, and it is also common to the Tanganyikan. That is why, and I salute for that. One of the most achievement of Muallimu or President Julius Nyerere, one of the things he have achieved is building a nation state and the basis of citizenship. That was my lecture.